Today we're going to be covering how to fill out the weekly paperwork checklist and how to get all the weekly paperwork together. What we'll need is, for the weekly paperwork, we'll need our 30-minute sanitation log. We'll need any food order invoices if we had a food order invoice. We'll need our coupons, and we'll need all the deposit records for that week. This weekly paperwork checklist is on your store computer if your manager hasn't already printed out a stack of copies for y'all. It's normally with the paperwork folder, and it's labeled weekly paperwork checklist. What you want to start off with is, of course, filling out the week ending. So we're doing week ending 3/6. And each store should have an example like this laminated, so it kind of tells you exactly how to do this whole sheet, but we'll go down. So it will kind of explain how these numbers, where we get these numbers from. We'll talk about the hourly sales log. We'll talk about the food order. And we'll talk about this section as well as the bottom section. So we're going to set that off to the side for now. But the deposit record amount, of course, this number that it talks about is the number that is right here that says deposit amount and to enter and register. So this number is the number we're looking for. That number, we're going to put it down for Saturday because this is Saturday that we're starting out. Of course, the last day of the week will always be on top. Saturday has a deposit amount of $872.39, and we'll move on to the next day. And as you can see, we see the pink slip and the deposit bag tear off. If your store does not use a deposit bag like this, you'll just have the pink slip. Okay. And let's do Friday. So Friday is $379.00. And then, as you can see, Thursday right here has a yellow slip attached to it. So that's the one that comes back from the bank. So every week, Sunday through Thursday should have this pink slip attached to it. Friday and Saturdays are normally days that we don't have to have them back till the following week, just because we know the bank takes a couple days to process them. But if you have a bank on site and you're able to get those, do that. Some stores, like the airport, never get these yellow slips back. They only stick with the pink slip. So just airport's the only exception to the rule. But normally we should have Sunday through Thursday. So we're still going off these numbers right here. So Thursday we're doing $275.43. And you always want to make sure when you staple them that they're stapled in the same direction as the one on the bottom. This was another example as well that we talked about previously, is not using felt tip pens to fill these out. And you want to use a regular ballpoint pen to fill these out, and make sure you press hard enough so it makes it through all 3 copies. Because if not, sometimes we get deposit slips here in the office that you can't read what they are. Let's go on to the next day, and we're doing $244.33. And Tuesday, $273.23. And remember, we're looking at these numbers down here on the bottom. Monday, is $295.20. And here's a great example. I'm not sure if y'all are able to see this, but it is kind of hard to read what's on this deposit slip because someone didn't press hard enough on it. And if we look, the bottom one, you can't see anything on it. So you can't see any of it. So just keep in mind, this is a great example. Make sure we're pressing down hard enough to go through the copies. We're going to do $484.58. So now that we have our deposit records, we wanted to make sure that we had all the yellow slips attached to them, at least Sunday through Thursday. We want to make sure we have those, and of course Friday and Saturday will be left off to the side. So we will set these off. So next, we're looking food order. Food order, we have a food order log, or we have a food order invoice, I should say. And what you want to do is write it on the day that it came in. So for this store, it came in on Wednesday. For Wednesday, of course, we'll write how many cases came in. So down here on the bottom left, it shows how many cases were ordered. And I take that back. We should use the ship one. So the one that says ship, that was 52 cases. So we got 52 cases in for a total amount of $1729.46. So the invoice total is what you'll want to write there. So we're at 1729.46. And then for all the other days, you can just put a line knowing that we didn't have one. A great example of this is not all stores order every single week. So if you're one of those stores that doesn't order every week, on the normal food order day, instead of just putting lines, make sure you put no food order received or no food order on this day. Whatever your normal day is, if your normal day is Wednesday or Thursday or Monday, always just put that. Don't just leave it as a blank like that. Put no food order. That way they know that it wasn't just left off or lost. And of course, just a side note, make sure that we're checking in all these items, because at the end of the day, we paid for these items. So we want to make sure that we received everything that we paid for. And normally this invoice should always have a check mark all the way through, verifying that you did all that. Next, we're doing hourly sales log. Those haven't been released for this year yet. I'm still working on them. So for the time being, they're going to be a no because we don't have those logs with them. Alrighty. And then the 30-minute log. The 30-minute log is the sanitation log, the high touch points, disinfecting high touch points. These records need to be kept for at least 60 days. So what I do is I keep them here in my office, so that way we have them in a binder here. And that way it's one less thing for y'all to maintain in the stores. But we need to make sure that we're initialing every half hour that we've sanitized. Most stores will not use the bottom piece, with the exception of 195. The bottom piece is for disinfecting seating areas and public restrooms. Of course, we have no public restrooms or anything like that, but we do have a seating area at North Star, so they would need to fill out this bottom portion. But all the other stores normally either put a line through it or put NA all the way across, so that way we know. So if you're not at 195, this should be completely blank, just like a line drawn through it, just to show that we don't have that. But the top portion must be filled out. As you can see, they did all the days. Is the 30-minute log included? Yes. So we're going to include all of it. Now, if one of the days wasn't done, we would have to put no, and then we would put the reason why we didn't do it. Say we happen to be closed for that one day, or they just didn't do it. Say staff forgot to do it or whatever. It's not okay, but we need to be honest with ourselves as well. So keep that in mind. So that's that. The 4-hour log and the nightly cleaning log. Those were logs that Annie Ann's required previously, and this sheet hasn't been updated. This sheet will be updated. Since we're not doing those anymore, we're just going to put no on these two sections. And the goal of this sheet is to have it printed out at the beginning of the week. That way, the closing manager on each day can fill out their one day and initial it right here. But since I'm filling this out for the entire week, I'm just going to put my initials all the way through. Because we don't want to create more work for people at the end of the week, but we still need this list done. So, if everybody does their portion throughout the week, the only thing we have to worry about is the bottom, because the bottom is really when we're getting everything together. Any employee paperwork, termination, stuff like that, that should normally be in a sealed bag going to the office. That way people can't see it. But we didn't have any this week, so we'll put NA. Any pest control, we didn't have pest control, but if you did have a pest control, you would put the invoice amount. Most stores, it's $100, but it says it on the bottom right. So we would have that. Alex's Lemonade donation, so the ALSF donations. That has to be done every single week, no matter the amount. So even if you have $1.37, make sure you include it on there. Make sure you do the deposit for it. And that pink slip should be by itself. It shouldn't be stapled to the weekly paperwork. It should just be by itself. So kind of keep that in mind. It should just end up loose to the office. Okay. Any coupons? You want to have the coupons. Every store has the example up on the wall, and then they have a weekly paperwork checklist on how to fill out this whole paperwork or what stuff should be titled. And for coupons, you should have your store number, what is in there, and what week it ends. This is TX135 coupons for week ending 3/6. And then you just count how many coupons you have. So we have 2 coupons here. We have 2 coupons. So we're going to put 2 coupons. And then SOS invoice, that's our plumbing. If we didn't have any plumbing issues or no grease trap came, we'll put NA. Any mail not addressed to the store. So if we have any mail, which we don't have any mail, we'll put NA. If you do, put how many items you have. And of course, you want to print your name. And you want to put the date that it was completed. So 3/7/2021. And then this piece, the deposit slips not belonging to the current deposit records. A great example of this is when we have these pink ones, or we have the Friday and Saturday that we didn't include them on the week before, but the following week has come, we have the yellow slips, but they don't belong to anything in the current week. You would just leave them loose. Same thing with like Alex's Lemonade coupons, and you would just put the dates. You would put, we have 3/5 and 3/6. And then you would staple them down here on the bottom behind everything. That way you have it here. And so you get your paperwork together. So of course, you have your deposit records, you have your coupons, you have your food order, you have your cleaning log, and then you have this sheet. And this is the way the paperwork should look like every week. We have this every week. And of course, you want to put it in your black folder and then put it into the locking bag. Try not to ever put them just loose like this, because if you put them loose in the big locking bag, they'll end up shifting around and they'll be a big mess when they get to the office, because the courier, the courier has multiple stops, so they kind of just get jostled around in there. And one thing I'd like to point out as well, that helps out the office quite a bit, is as you can see, there is no 3PD receipts over here. And the reason for that is because they do get removed at the office to put on to transfer to another paper. So be careful with those 3PD receipts. Make sure they're nice and neat, not crumpled up or folded up. Make sure they're nice and flat, because it really helps out the office ladies on getting that put out. And then another thing is this left side. You see how nice and clean it is? They're not hanging out or anything like that. We don't want, little yellow slips or, little plastic slips or paperwork hanging out like that. Because if it's not nice and straight, they put it in folders and it won't sit right. So just kind of keep that in mind. And that's how you do the weekly paperwork. Thanks.